Hello everyone, it's your favorite night owl here with a quick video on the Femboy compromise concept related to armed self-defense. Before we get started, this video is not sponsored in any way by any brand name that may or may not be mentioned or viewed within this video. Feel free to subscribe. Alrighty then. Let's get on with it, shall we? The Femboy compromise within the larger field of armed self-defense and the general concepts of the tenets of an armed citizenry represent a refinement of the feminine aspect of armed self-defense, of which there's both a feminine and masculine side to the generalized spirit of an armed citizenry and the general concept of armed self-defense. By default of being a refinement of a refinement, it can be construed as a compromise, even though, technically speaking, you aren't really losing in the regard of performance in any way, although it can be perceived as such, thus the term compromise, even though there is no true loss compared to taking a more generalized feminine approach to the general spirit of armed self-defense and an armed citizenry. As previously stated, there is a feminine and a masculine aspect to that spirit. I prefer a more balanced approach, but as an individual who takes on more masculine traits, however, has a wide selection of feminine preferences, I tend to favor a more balanced approach, although I will when the feminine approach just seems to be a better option from my standpoint, will readily, due to point of preference, embrace it. And to mention that, to further this along the argument, is the fact that I have adopted myself the Femboy compromise in my armed self-defense. So, because there is going to be an IRL version of this video, as I do own a firearm that matches the Femboy compromise to armed self-defense. And in the IRL video, I'll have a chance to overview it as I explain the concept, and bring up other firearms, which I will here in this video, that also meet these requirements. Now, the requirements for matching the Femboy compromise, which is a refinement of a refinement. That refinement being the feminine aspect of the spirit, the feminine side, concerning armed self-defense and that of an armed citizenry, which will receive its own videos. There will be multiple in a series. This refinement of a refinement, which I'm starting to ramble, I do apologize, lies within those characteristics, of which the caliber and the capability, general size, all refine down to the bare that is needed in order to achieve that goal. Now, there is the hyper-feminine approach, which will receive its own video, but there's also the Femboy compromise, which is in the larger end of that approach, which I personally use. This, of course, is characterized in a caliber that is at the bare requirement for the task at hand, armed self-defense, of which you do have to determine if it's self-defense against two-legged or four-legged considerations. And this, of course, has different considerations, depending drastically, but with the four-legged considerations, it varies depending on the size of what concerns you the most. So, in the case of the two-legged defense, that can be found in .22 Magnum, .380, which has come a long way as a cartridge as firearms technology has developed, and, of course, .57, which .57 relies heavily on velocity to create its effect, but it is, as of so far, proven to be an effective cartridge. This, of course, also comes down to size of the handgun that it will be fired. Of course, there is also rifles to consider, but this is entirely different. Now, the FEMBOY compromise, when it concerns things like long guns, is different from handguns. In handguns, that's as previous 380, 5.7, they meet the minimum requirements and are fairly effective cartridges in that regard, especially in compact or subcompact frames. Not true pocket pistols, which is the more hyper-feminine approach to things. My personal choice is the Smith & Wesson Shield EZ in .380. And the EZ in .380 is, so far, meets my personal standards for the FEMBOY compromise. Of course, the regular Shield line also meets that requirement. In 9, there's multiple versions of the Shield EZ line. Of course, there's also the Ruger Security 380 and the 9. There's a 9 version of Ruger Security 9. Then there's the Beretta 80 series. My personal favorite is the Beretta 84 BB of the Beretta 84 line. And these all meet those requirements. Then, of course, there are available options in 5.7 and .22 and compact and even full size, which is also an option. Now, due to their larger size, these handguns are a little bit harder to conceal for concealed carry, but you get more performance out of those cartridges than you would, say, out of a true pocket pistol. In the form of long guns, the feminine approach would be an intermediate, a pistol caliber carbine, or a compact, a short barrel rifle in intermediate caliber. These are the two. Now, I don't currently own a short barrel rifle in intermediate caliber. However, they are available, of course. And of course, there's PCCs, pistol caliber carbines, which also meet the FEMBOY standard. Well, the FEMBOY compromise. With the PCC, which is more pure in that regard, is, of course, you're getting a lot more performance out of that handgun. However, PCCs in .380 and all that, generally speaking, you're looking at like 5.7 if you're looking down that route. So, also there's you find PCCs in 9 and PCCs in 10 to get even more performance, of which a PCC in 10mm could be used for short-range hunting. A 10mm handgun, period, could be used in short-range hunting as well, so that is also an option. So, with the standard set, cartridge towards the minimum, but not subpar, in a frame large enough that you retain as much performance as the cartridge will permit, and then, of which 5.7 works better out of a full size anyway. And then you also have, it's not a true pocket pistol, which is the hyper-feminine approach. I don't currently own a true pocket pistol because I've adopted the FEMBOY compromise for my carry purposes of self-defense and to embrace the ideals of an armed citizenry. I should probably do a video on that first, because this is kind of jumping the gun, and I do plan on redoing this in an IRL video and an improved version of this video, so look out for that, where I'll go into much deeper detail. This was just a quick run. Well, the hyper-feminine approach has its own names, and it will be in its own video. We have gone through the characteristics of long guns. We also have gone through the characteristics of a handgun and using the Febmoy compromise. Of course, there are other considerations as well. So in archery, the compromise does exist, and there's also other matters to contend with. So those would also be their own videos. Now, for some quick channel news, there is going to be a lot more stuff coming. IRL videos, feel free to like if you like, leave a comment below. I appreciate positive or negative. I appreciate it, regardless of positive or negative. Then, I guess I'll be seeing you around. Like if you liked. Alrighty then. Should be another video tomorrow. Toodles!